Good afternoon. This is Richard Burke. I'm Executive Director of Western Liberty Network, and we do these frequent Saturday training sessions, and we're glad that you are here, whether you're participating live like Oksana here, or else you're viewing the recording that'll be posted a little bit later. It is 12 o'clock, Saturday, May 18th. And if you are in Oregon, this is an important time because we're just 3 days away from the primary election, and someone else is just coming in. So we're just a few days away from the upcoming March election. If you are not in Oregon, if you're watching from Washington or Texas or one of the other places where we have affiliates, this will apply in the last few days of when your primary election is. So anyway, a couple of things I need to go through. Western Liberty Network is a 501c3 organization. We do not endorse or oppose any candidates, even the ones we train, political party, ballot measure, or legislation. Instead, we provide training to people who want it, particularly limited government activists, and then they are free to use it for any campaign they care about, whether it be a candidate campaign or a ballot measure campaign. I'm going to share the screen briefly and show you some things on the Western Liberty Network website. You should see the Western Liberty Network site, Western Liberty Network site up right now. And when you go to westernlibertynetwork.org, it will redirect you to this site, and you'll be able to see some features. If we have an upcoming Saturday training, it's always at the top. You can sign in here. That's how you got on if you attended this live. Scroll down a little farther, and there are some interesting resources. If you've attended one of our annual conferences, you know there's a lot going on. This, for example, tells you about our last annual conference, but also provides a lot of the PowerPoint presentations that were provided by our various presenters and instructors. Going down a little further, you'll find other resources that are similar in nature, but also some live speeches. Like this is from Dennis Linthicum. He was talking about liberty. You can listen to it. He currently is a Secretary of State candidate. Go down a little further, and here's one from Andrei Ilyaronov. He was Vladimir Putin's chief economic advisor before he defected and left for the United States, and now he works for freedom. If you click on that, you'll be able to listen to his address. It's a very good address. Now, if you are interested in training, becoming a more effective activist or candidate, go to our training tab. I think Oksana's already been on this tab. Here at the top, it discusses various kinds of training that Western Liberty Network provides. And then we've got some training documents. If you like a training document, for example, if you want to know how to be effective in informal debates, you might click on this topic, and it'll bring up the training document associated with that topic. These documents are meant to be provided with a live training, but they stand up on their own. And so you can look at however many of those as you wish. If you go to the bottom, you can download a single file containing all of the above training documents. So you don't have to click 20, 30 times to get the ones you want. You can get them all in one shot. And then below that, you've got our Saturday training sessions. This training session will in fact be posted shortly after we're finished with it. But we've got 2.5 years of topics here. I do a lot of the trainings, but we do have some guest trainers in from time to time. And between the video trainings and the documents, you can design your own custom training program. If you really like what you see, go to Support Western Liberty Network, and you can make a tax-deductible, recurring, or one-time contribution. This keeps us in the field, and this keeps us doing some training. And then the last thing I'll show you before we get into the topic is the website for Parents' Rights in Education. Parents' Rights in Education supports school choice, empowering parents to exercise the rights they have as parents of children who are in the government schools. And if you go to parentsrightseducation.com, you'll see a bunch of resources there. We work with them to provide training, and they are a signed Western Liberty Network independent affiliate. So we encourage people to take a look at that. So with this, I'm going to stop sharing the screens, and we'll be live here. Mike, I'd like to welcome you to the meeting today. And in the chat session, I'm going to add a couple of documents for you.
Mainly here for the checklist, but yeah, this looks really good.
Yeah,
Glad you
well,
invited me.
you will get it. What are you a candidate, Mike?
I sure am. I'm running for Senate District 22 in
Okay,
Oregon.
excellent. Here's one of the documents I'm going to send to you. The other one is here.
Awesome.
They're out. Now, the number of things that are on a checklist vary depending on how much time you have before the election. As it is, there's only, a couple of days really before the election takes place. So there aren't a lot of things that are going to be on your checklist, but there are some things that you can do very easily. First of all, on this Saturday, do a survey of all of the radio stations that have talk shows. And you'll see if you put talk shows, Portland area, get them all in there and make sure that you have people that call into these radio talk shows. Generally, like to keep it short. Lars Larson does it for KXL Radio. There is a business station that has a talk show. There is a Russian station that has a talk show. There are a lot of them in the Portland metro area. So do a survey of the talk shows in your area. If you're not in Portland, do it in the area that you're dealing with and find out when you can call into talk shows. And then you and your friends have them call in and have them say one thing. Like Mike, you're running, you're running for state representative in District 22, right?
Senator, yeah.
Or state senate. Okay, very good. So what you would do is you would call in to maybe Lars Larson or somebody else and say, hello, Lars, this is Mike Saperstein. I'd like to ask everyone to vote for me in the upcoming primary if you haven't voted already. I am running because I've lived in the area for such and such a time. I understand its needs and I'll do a good job of representing the district. And for that reason, I ask that you vote Mike Saperstein for state senate and then hang up and that's it. And have your friends do that. Now, if you know that the talk show host is friendly to you, go ahead and stay on the line. But when you're calling into a talk show host, you don't have control of the microphone. They've got a little knob that can turn your sound down. They can start hitting you and attacking you. And there's not a lot you can do about it. But if you hang up after you've said those things, then you've got a commercial and they can't really argue with you. Okay. In a situation like that, I usually advise candidates to have other people make those calls. Otherwise, the talk show host might say, interesting. The candidate wouldn't stay on to have a conversation with me. Well, again, if the talk show host is friendly, stay on and have a conversation with them. But if you're not sure, have a friend call because the talk show host is not going to attack Mike Saperstein if Joe Blow calls in and then hangs up after simply saying, hi, my name is Joe. I'm saying everyone should vote for Mike Saperstein. He's lived in the area for 20 years. He understands the district really well and he'll represent us. So for that reason, please vote for Mike Saperstein for state senate and then hang up. And you won't get an argument and you get a free commercial. So do this everywhere that you can. That is one thing that you can do. Another is if you have volunteers, if you have supporters, get out the vote is more important than anything at this point. And so you've got to do things that are going to get folks to vote. One thing you can do is contact your political party. If you have a political party you're associated with and, they have a get out the vote phone bank, have your people participate in it. They know if they have a program like that, they will have daily lists from the election office as to who has voted and who has not. And most of them have paid for phone numbers, so they know how to call them. So participate in phone banking to get out the vote. Also, door to door. It is not too late to start doing door to door work. If you can, contact your political party and ask them for a list of people who have not yet voted and get a walking list from them and or at least a neighborhood and just start knocking on doors. If you can't get a list like that, or there is not a county party get out the vote effort, start knocking on doors anyway. Turnout in primary election campaigns is usually very low, usually in the 30% range to 40% range. And so if you knock on doors, the chances are you're probably going to knock on a lot of doors of people who have voted, but also a lot of doors of people who have not voted. And so it is never too late to get out there and start knocking on doors anywhere. and do what you can with that. Now, one of the documents I sent you through the chat window is how to canvass your neighborhood. You know, what you try to do, but you know, I'm not going to go through all of that in this training. You can look at this document at your convenience. But basically what you're going to do is just make sure you know what the weather is going to be for that day. Make sure you've got a small backpack with a sandwich, a bottle of water. If it's going to rain, make sure there's an umbrella, or don't use an umbrella, use a poncho because you need your hands free. Make sure you've got shoes appropriate to the weather, and you start knocking on doors. It's best if you have someone with you for safety. And, you know, if there's an issue or if there's an incident, you know, there's somebody there that witnessed what went on, but go with someone to a door. And when you knock on a door, you know, just be very brief. Hello, my name is Mark Saperstein. I'm running for state senate. And I want to introduce myself and ask you for your vote and make sure that you have your ballot and that you are going to vote. Then move on. Don't get into a big discussion. Don't get into anything that's going to waste your time. You are there to cover as much ground as you can. If you do want to have a long discussion with someone, give them your phone number, ask them to call you and meet next week. But right now you have to work. And most folks are going to understand that. So if you just start knocking on doors and have your volunteers knocking on doors, it's going to make a difference. In a lot of these races, only a few votes matter. And if you're not doing a large, high dollar campaign, there's nothing that beats, you know, rubber hitting the road. Now, Oksana, Mark Scholl is running for county commissioner to be reelected. If he wins 50% plus one in his race, he's reelected. If not, he goes into a primary. But there are a lot of candidates in that race. I think there are 4 candidates in that race. So three candidates. It's still very tough, even for an incumbent, to break 50%. And if he does, you know, it's going to be very close. So every single vote counts. So, you know, yes, it's only 3 days to the election. But the good news is the ballots do not have to be in by election day. They just have to be mailed by election day. So you've got 3 days to work. We've got another person coming in, John L. Hello, John. Welcome to the conference today. Let me know if you can't hear or can't see. I'm going to send these documents again so that you have it. I've got a couple of documents that will help you do some last minute campaign activities. Here's the first one. Here's the second one. These are the same documents I sent before, but since you came to the conference late, I want to make sure that you have them. Okay. There they are. And I also encourage you in a few hours to go on the training tab of the westernlibertynetwork.org website, where this video will be posted and you'll be able to see what you missed. So, okay. With that, we're talking about getting out the vote. We've talked about canvassing. We've talked about doing some phone banking, coordinating with your county political party if they are doing anything. And we've also talked about calling in to talk radio shows and having your friends call in to talk radio shows. Another thing you should do is a sign campaign. If you have not done a sign campaign, it's time to do it. It's when you get large signs saying Mark Scholl for county commissioner, or, you know, Mike Saperstein
This
for
is
state
what,
senate.
yeah, this is what I wanted to ask. Is it make sense right now, the last 4 days, to do the signs wave on the road?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is what-
it's
Mhm.
good. If you have people who are willing to stand on the side of a road, you know, or near a busy intersection and wave a sign, it is very important because it will remind people who have not voted that it's time to vote.
Yeah, and what's the best hours to do this, in a traffic rush or morning, evening?
There are no bad hours, but I would say during the morning traffic, during the afternoon traffic are the best, but everything in between that is good. Okay, you've got cars going by all the time. I would have 1 or 2 people have signs saying, vote by May 21st, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
if it says, you know, vote for Mike, Saperstein, you know, or Mark Scholl or anyone else,
Mm-hmm.
That's great, but if they don't know when they have to vote by, when they have to, vote
Yeah.
by, they'll miss it, right?
Okay.
So
Mhm.
you want to make sure that they do that. So that makes a lot of sense if you're going to just take it to the last minute. Get out the vote, call people, get the phone numbers from your county political party who also know who has voted and who has not voted. Knock on doors using the techniques provided in the canvassing document. Call radio talk shows. Do a survey of all the radio stations in the area that your district is in and make a phone call. Just make the call short. When you get on the air, say, hi, my name is John or Mike, first name. I'm asking that everyone vote for Mike Saperstein or whoever the candidate is. Give one short reason why in one sentence. Thank them, tell them to vote for Mark Saperstein again, and then hang up. Unless you know you have a friendly talk show host.
Mhm.
And then stay on the line, ask questions. It's a free advertisement. And then finally, if you are running a campaign or you're a candidate, make sure you have some activity for election night. It's important that if you have volunteers, donors, and supporters, that you have something to create some camaraderie where you can tell your stories, bring them together. And if you win, you can all celebrate. If you lose, you can kind of support each other and figure out what you're going to do next. But at this point, this late in the race, never quit, never stop fighting. But at this point, those are the things you can do that are going to benefit your campaign the most. Have a sign waving campaign near busy intersections, knock on doors, make sure that people vote, participate in a phone bank that might be sponsored by your county political party, and also call radio talk show hosts, get on the air, get those free ads, and have a election night party where everyone can.
One more
Go ahead.
question about social media, Facebook boosting, push out content. So right now I have to like push out a lot, right? And boost stuff and I don't know, to put out a lot of advertising and
Sure. Now, interestingly, your race and Mike's race are higher level than most of the races we do training for. And so if you're running for a county commission for a metropolitan district like Mark Scholl is in Clackamas County, or you're running for a state senate district like Mike is, you should already have strong social media assets at work for you. This is why I don't typically include them in a last minute checklist, because if you don't have them running already, it's probably too late to establish them now. But if you have them running already, sure, go ahead, amp them up.
just so much. I need to push like so much as possible, right? To just
Yep. It's like I say, if you don't have one, if you don't have a social media campaign at this point, it's too late. But if you do have a social media campaign, then of course you're going to want.
Okay, what's the best users on Facebook or Instagram?
Depends on the demographic you're trying to reach. Instagram has the younger voters. Typically, Facebook has the older voters. Older voters vote in at a higher propensity than younger voters do. So if I had to emphasize one or the other, I would go with Facebook. However, if you have a good social media campaign already in place, there really is no difference. You're going to go after everything you can. And there are other platforms too. There's of course X, and there is Truth, and there is Telegram, and all any number of other platforms that you have. But again, I don't include that in the checklist for last minute things, because if you don't have it already, it's too late. But if you do have it, amp it up as much as you can naturally.
So and also you would recommend to do really like eye-catching content, like pictures, art pictures, like which will catch eye of people who is going through Facebook or Instagram. It's need to be very short, right? And eye-catching stuff.
Yeah, I would say so, but I would say that if you are a campaign that has an identifiable logo. Make
Mhm.
sure that whatever you send out has that logo on it. A lot of people don't really pay attention to what's on their feed. They'll scroll very quickly.
Mhm.
And unless it's something that they're looking for or interested in, they're going to scroll very fast. But if you have a logo that people might be seeing on lawn signs, yard signs, TV commercials, make sure the logo is incorporated into what you're doing. So even if they scroll quickly, their eyeballs will catch that logo and it'll reinforce what they've already seen before. If you have the time, you might want to take a look at using social media for campaigns. Those are training sessions that are on the training page of Western Liberty Network. And on the homepage of Western Liberty Network, if you scroll down a little bit to coverage of our 2024 conference, you will see that there is a slideshow there on using social media. So definitely, if you don't have a social media campaign already, it's probably too late. But if you do, maximize it. I'm assuming that people who have been running social media campaigns know what they're doing by now. But if they want to fine tune anything, by all means, use our training documents. So essentially, if you are doing the social media work and you are knocking on doors and you are getting on the radio, as we have discussed, and you are doing a live sign waving campaign outside, then you're going to be doing most of what you need to do to make sure that you cover those bases that you have to cover. Although I do want to emphasize one more time, make sure that there is something for your volunteers to do on election night. Make sure that there's a place for them to go. You can thank them profusely, whether you win or lose. They can talk about what they've learned, maybe reinforce each other a little bit, share some camaraderie, and you can talk about what you're going to do next, whether or not you win or lose the race. So that is my basic 30-minute training on last-minute campaign checklist items. Are there any other questions? Mike, John?
No, that all sounds real good. The other is with the podcast, and then there's also cable. There's a couple of things I'm working on right now.
Uh-huh.
I think I'm going to win the primary, so I'm actually going to pick up the pace quite a bit, and I'm going to make my party actually participate and volunteer more, because until I do that, they're of course paying attention to the red districts more than the blue, and I'm in a blue, so
Sure.
a few things that I got to juggle before I can really get out there, that I need to get out there, because I've already basically won the primary. So I got my
Yep.
website up, I'm getting some printing done, and actually I am considering having a party get together, and actually I'm going to use that more of a recruitment for volunteers.
Sure.
So,
And it can be a kickoff for the primary too.
general.
And unless Mark gets a majority in the primary, this will be a kickoff for his general election campaign. And John, are you a candidate? You're muted right now, but you can unmute yourself if you want to speak, if you're willing to speak. You don't have to speak. But no, he looks like he's muted, but that's okay. But anyway, yeah, this is all very important. Most of the races that we help people with are like Soil and Water Conservation District, Water Board, and all those things. But we do have people, even as high as statewide races, come to us for training on various topics. And after the primary election, in Mark's case, if he doesn't win, but he comes in one of the top two, or Mike, if you win your primary, I encourage you to re-engage with Western Liberty Network and learn how to do some things early for the general election, like how to do a written campaign plan. Written campaign plans are like business plans for a small business when they're going to a bank for a loan. If you are working with large donors, if you are working with small donors, or even if you're trying to get volunteers on board to invest their time and talent, if you have a written campaign plan that shows a path to victory, you're going to get larger donations, more commitments of time, and all of that than if you don't have a written campaign plan. Building a good campaign team is another thing. We offer training on all of this. And of course, you might find some of it useful, maybe some of it's not. but we encourage you to take a look at all of Western Liberty Network's training resources. Not just as you are today, but going forward, if you're active in the general election. Are there any other questions?
I just was wondering, is it this training goes every Saturday, or it just before election you're doing this?
Almost every Saturday.
Almost, okay.
It's not going to be for the next 2 Saturdays, but it's going to be immediately after that and probably for the next several Saturdays. So after today, we're taking a 2-week hiatus, and then we're starting up again.
Okay.
Okay. So I hope this has been valuable to you, and that it's given you some tips. And I look forward to seeing you again. And our next annual conference is going to be on February 1st. So mark that day on your calendar. And so with that, I wish you all a wonderful day. Good luck out there. Good luck on Tuesday, and God bless.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Burke. Appreciate it.